Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for today's live video. It's always great to hang out with everybody on Wednesdays. They're kind of becoming my favorite day of the week. I feel like I have all of these friends that live all over the world. So thank you for being here. So today we're going to be discussing several topics that I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about today. It's always fun hearing, as usual, where everybody lives, where you're from. So do say hello, do say where you live, because I always love hearing about that. We have Diana joining us from Austin, Texas. Debbie, hi, Diana. And Darlene is from Oregon. She says, love your family. Thank you so much. I thought I would do a live video in a different spot of my house today, just because I'm starting to get tired of just the same place every single week. Carol, hello. Carol's from Texas. Michelle is from Ohio. And Linda, hi. I thought you were going to say where you were from. And we have Tiffany from Australia. It is warming up here in Southern Utah. I am wearing shorts today. And I have pulled out like all of my spring clothes and retired all of my fall clothes for this season, fall and winter. So it is just warming up and feels amazing. I don't know about everybody else where you're living, how the weather is, but right here it is just sunny and bright and beautiful, and it's so fun. Just getting excited about spring over here. Kathy's from Illinois. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for joining us. And Harriet is from Ohio as well. We've got a bunch of people from Ohio joining us today. Let's see. It's cold in Austin, Texas. It's really warm here today. It feels so nice. So I thought we would just dive in. I am renovating my laundry room again this week, and I am so excited to share that. So stay tuned for the rest of this video, and I will probably just pick up my camera and show you my messy kitchen where everything is stored while I am renovating that laundry room. So for those of you watching the live video, you get a little sneak peek before the vlog comes out on Friday, just of the things that I've been up to while the kids have been gone. Suzanne is from Indiana, I think, and Maria is from Ohio as well. We've got people just all over the place. It's great. Connie's from Minnesota. Okay, so let's just dive in. I recently had a vlog that you all probably saw yesterday, and there were a ton of comments just about disciplining my kids. And so I thought we would cover that a little bit more today because I don't film that on camera. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a book that I really love called Raising Emotionally Intelligent Children. Now, this is going to be backwards as you're viewing this. It is by John Gottman. He does have a PhD. John Gottman has written so many really, really good books. He's written books about marriage. He's written books about dating. And I really like what he has to say in this book in particular. And it talks about raising kids that understand how they think and feel. And the whole purpose is so that as we become adults, we understand how we think and feel and how to best regulate that. And I talk a lot about emotionally regulating with children. And I really, as I was editing this video, or as Kyle was editing this video, I looked back and saw Lincoln's meltdown and Daisy expressing how angry and frustrated she felt. And I thought, do I keep this in the vlog or do I leave it and edit it out? And I thought it was important to keep it in, just to show that kids who are happy all the time, I mean, some kids are happy all the time, but most kids feel all kinds of emotions within a day. And I know having quintuplets, that has been my experience with these kids. So I purposely thought to keep it in, but I do discipline my kids and I do timeouts, but I don't show that on film. So before we had gotten out of the house on that particular day, Lincoln was having a really difficult time. The kids had gotten back from church and had eaten a ton of sugar because I think their church teacher or something gave them candy. And so when I got back to the house, our tradition is we make French toast every Sunday, and the kids really look forward to that. And anyway, he just was really struggling. So we had already done a timeout before we went to the park, but he's been struggling lately because he really needs that one-on-one time with his mom. And sometimes that can be hard to do with quintuplets because it means typically I have to get a babysitter, and I've already asked Grandma Smith to babysit a ton for that week. So I tried to carve it out while we were at the park just for a little bit, and he was just extremely frustrated because all the kids feel that way. They want that time, that one-on-one time with their parent, and they need it. I think every child needs it. And so anyway, he had a better rest of the day. So as far as like how I discipline my kids, I do timeouts according to how old my child is. So right now the quintuplets are 5. My rule is if the child gets out of timeout, then I restart that timer. So some of my children will be in timeout for like 10 minutes because it takes that long for them to cool off, to cool down, to take a break, and to learn how to take those deep breaths, emotionally regulate, and to do it in healthy ways. So if they hit their sibling, if they say the word shut up, that's something that my child will go to timeout for because that is not tolerated in my home. We don't say words like that. And if they're welcome to express like they're really angry or they're mad or they're frustrated, but things like boundaries, like we don't hit our siblings, we don't say bad words. And if we're frustrated, like, or really mad, it's okay to go like up into your room, yell into your pillow, go outside, express that, or come to me and talk to me how you think and feel. So those are things that I do discipline. I saw a bunch of comments that I never discipline my kids and I don't do timeouts. Well, I share about 8 minutes in a vlog and there are 24 hours in a day, my friends. So I do discipline, I do timeouts, and just out of respect publicly for my children, that's not something that I'm gonna show on camera because these kids may look back one day and look at these videos, and I want them to know and understand that I gave them dignity along the way. But allowing our kids to show and express how they think and feel is healthy, but setting firm boundaries as to expectations and what's okay and what's not okay is really important as a parent too. So anyway, just thought I would cover that for a brief minute here because I did see a lot of comments on that over on my vlog that just came out. So let's see, I've got Diana asking, do you and Skylar hold to similar standards of behavior? I would hope so, but honestly, I can only be in charge of what happens at my home with my kids and teaching those things. So Deb is from Florida. Good morning. Sandra is from New Zealand. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so if you guys have questions, and I'm gonna really try not to say you guys, it's kind of where I live in Southern Utah, the equivalent of y'all to the South of how people talk, but I'm really gonna try and work on that because I've seen that in comments lately. Like you say, you guys so much. I'm like, I really do. And when I first moved to Southern Utah as a young teenager, I noticed some of the quirky things that people from Southern Utah will say. Like instead of mountain, we say mountain. Instead of saying you all, some people will say y'all. Instead of for, some people will say fur. So I really try hard, and I'm really trying hard not to say you guys on here. Let's see. Oh, the book that I was telling you about, so I'll hold it up again for those of you who missed it, Raising Emotionally Intelligent Children by John Gottman. Raising kids these days, I feel like is really, really helpful. So this talks about parenting styles. So it'll help you identify what your parenting style is. There's a whole section, chapter 5, specifically on divorce, on marriage, because children are learning how to emotionally regulate and expressing those feelings when they're going through life transitions like that. And it also talks about strategies for parenting, which was so incredibly helpful. And I'll hold this again. I am one of those people that when I read a book, let's see if you can see this, I like to write in the margins notes to self, and it even has quizzes in here so you can understand your child and understand the way you parent a little bit better, and it'll make you a better parent. So anyway, I've read that book like a couple times now over the years with Shayden and Landon, and then again with the quintuplets, and it's so helpful. Let's see, somebody was saying that in Michigan, they say you guys too. Okay, so it's not just me. Be yourself. Yes, you are a public figure. Is Skylar more conservative or liberal than you? I think we have different personality types, and Skylar definitely likes to have a lot more fun with the kids, and I'm a little bit more calm type of a personality, so it is different. We are different, I think, in our parenting. Hi to Regina from South Africa. I actually had an ancestor that lived in South Africa like years and years ago as I was looking through like family history. Ancestry.com is pretty cool because you can learn a ton about your family. I love I love it when you say you guys. Okay, so thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I feel so awkward sometimes when I look back at videos. I'm like, wow, I'm really repetitive. I say the same things like over and over again. Tara, hello. It's nice to see you. Okay, so I did have a podcast. If you haven't caught that, I did a podcast with my good friend, Roxanne Kennedy Granada. So I go a little bit more in depth for about 45 minutes, just with my personal thoughts. There's gonna be some new things in there. If you've followed me for years, I do share snippets, a little bit more about divorce, a little bit more about kids, a little bit more about the aspects and positive things that come from therapy. And I also share some things from the quintuplet pregnancy that you might not know that are kind of sacred things that I've not really shared publicly with people. So if you're interested in that, you can head on over. She's on Facebook and Instagram, Roxanne Kennedy Granada. She does life coaching and is just an incredible human being. We were neighbors years and years ago, and we first met, I was teaching her son in Sunday school, and he reminded me, I think he was 14 or 15 at the time, he reminded me so much of my son Shayden when he was just 10 years old, like look-wise, personality-wise. He was just a really good kid. And so that was originally how we met. And then when I was pregnant with the quintuplets, she actually moved out of my neighborhood and I think remarried and moved like up north. So check her out. She's amazing. And you can get to know her a little bit more and just how amazing she is. So anyway, there is that. And then I will start taking a few more questions. What room are you in? Looks comfy. This is my family room, and I haven't vlogged a ton in here just because the lighting isn't always great. I picked a home that doesn't have really great natural lighting, and so I'm just kind of like sitting up against a window here just to have light on my face. Does Landon go from week to week, or does he do as he wants? Great question, Alexandra. Landon is on the same schedule as the quintuplets. We share time as co-parents 50-50, so Landon stays on the same schedule as the quintuplets. He does have time carved out with each parent as needed. So recently, like he went on a cruise with his dad, which cut into some of my time, parenting time. But I thought it was okay because he was spending one-on-one time with each parent. So for things like that, he does get little breaks from the quints. He does want more time and breaks from the quintuplets because they are a lot of energy and they are busy. And he is now a full-blown teenager and likes his space. So taking breaks for Landon and wanting that one-on-one time, I think there's still sweetness there because he still wants that. And he's a little bit different of your typical 13-year-old kid. He's still like very affectionate and snuggly. He's going to hate it that I say that on here, but he still wants that time with each of his parents. Thank you for saying you love my hair, Audrey. I just barely curled it. I've not had my hair done for like a few days because I've been doing this renovation project back in the back room. So it was nice to kind of get spruced up just a little bit. Let's see. Claire says, do the two older boys watch? I just missed it. Claire asked that question again. Good afternoon from Las Vegas. If you have questions and I've missed them, you can keep asking them because sometimes as I'm talking, I'm not able to read them because they come in so quickly. Are any of the quints reading easy books? Great question. I wish we were reading more. They come back with school now with so much energy that it can be difficult to carve out time just to read to them one-on-one. So as far as like reading books, Logan surprises me because he actually reads really, really well. And Daisy as well. Somebody said, I think chickens can cause lice. Is that true? I would love to know it in the comments. Do you and Skylar do events together for the kids? No, we do not. So we separate things separately, and that's what works best for us. But as far as like some things are at the same time, but we don't sit together. It's separate. Love the rug and carpet. Hello from the UK. Thank you. This rug is a Pottery Barn rug, and it was originally in our last house back when I had more income. We had worked with a designer, and she had designed a teen hangout room for the teenagers. And so now that I've moved into this house, this is just furniture that used to be upstairs for the kids. Let's see. Do you let your older boys research other religions, churches, if they want, or are they interested? I think that's a great, valid question. Neither of them have been interested in that. As far as religious attendance, we can talk about that. Shayden is not presently attending church. He's up at college, living in Wyoming. He's really busy. He works on Sundays. But when he does come down, he has the option to come to church anytime. Landon is very active in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints faith. And I'm just very respectful and patient with where my kids are at. But Landon is all in. And so I'm very supportive of that. And I think I mentioned this in the last vlog. I think religion can really add to building communities and building societies of better human beings and better children in particular, because they teach good morals and values, which just build communities. And so I've told my boys, and I want my boys to have that agency first and foremost to choose for themselves. But at the same time, until they're of age where they're like, you know, I'm just not interested, I really want to teach and instill those good moral values within the church that we belong to. So thank you for asking that question. Let's see. Regina says, love your house's interior decorations so much. You look so nice. Love your clothes and hair plus makeup. Thank you. I did freshen up right before I filmed this because I've been sweating buckets back in that laundry room. Will Landon do a mission trip when he graduates from high school? That is a great question. He does hope to do that. In my particular faith and religion, young men can serve missions as well as young women, and even senior couples can serve missions if they want to. And so for my boys, I will encourage them to donate that time and service, whether it's on a mission or humanitarian work or in their communities, but I'm not going to push it on my children. I think respecting their agency to do that and decide for themselves that that's what they would like to do is something I can always encourage as a parent. And I know across the board in many religions, humanitarian work and service and having those experiences outside of where they live, like even in another country, can be really helpful for young adults. And I really want to encourage that for my kids. I think it's just good. And, you know, to have experiences outside of where you live is just healthy for kids. So Carrie says, hello from Minnesota. Hi, Carrie. Glad you're here. Is it hard raising children where parents have different religious beliefs? I think it can be, but I think it's also doable. And each of us as parents have the right to choose and worship accordingly. And as co-parents, we need to respect differences. We don't have to agree with them, but we each have our agency and we can respect each other's differences. And my children have the right to be exposed to different religions if their dad chooses to practice a different faith. And I think growing up when I was a kid, some of my best friends were Catholic and I think non-denominational Christians, I want to say. And so as kids, we did have opportunities to attend church services and baby blessings, or I guess it wasn't a baby blessing, a baby baptism. And so we did get those opportunities to experience different religions and faith, and it opened up conversations with my best friends that practice different religions. And so I thought it was really cool where we could ask, you know, like, what does this mean? Like in the Catholic faith, like what is holy water and why do you do that? And why does your sacrament look a little different than mine, but yet it's still the sacrament? And so it just opened up like a lot of great discussions between our families, and it helped me to get clear on my personal beliefs growing up. And so I think it's good. I think that's a good thing. So you guys ask, I did say you guys, that's twice I've said it. You guys ask really good questions. How do you go about explaining divorce and the separate households to the kids? Great question, Lindsay. I think it originally was a very sensitive topic with my kids. The quintuplets were 3.5 at the time, so they didn't really understand a whole lot besides missing dad in the same household. But as they've gotten older, they've started to understand that it's just better to have 2 separate households. The quintuplets still don't understand what the word divorce means. And so getting down at my child's level and validating, I see that you miss daddy today. Like Lily had just said that today. She was kind of having a hard time in class, and I don't think she wanted to do the work. She just wanted to go play because Skylar has the kids this week. So validating my child's feelings, but at the same time saying, okay, but you've got to get back to work because it's a school day. So I do understand that you miss your dad, and that's valid, and I can relate to that. But also explaining to my children, according to their age, that sometimes two households is better for children. And I never thought that I would choose divorce. I never thought that would be the case. And we're 2 years out, and I realize it just gets better. Like and it doesn't mean that you failed as a parent, that you failed your child. I think sometimes it's a very hard decision to have to make. It's not one that I really saw coming, but it was one that presented itself, and it's one that I think has benefited my children in the long run. So great question. I really appreciate your openness on parenting and letting your kids decide some things on their own. Teresa, I really appreciate you saying that. I think validating our children and their experiences really helps children during these crucial times of childhood, so that as they become older and are grown adults, they understand over the years how to emotionally regulate, and that they also have a parent that says, I hear you, I see you, but also teaches appropriate behaviors and what to do with those emotions. So anyway, I really appreciate you saying that. Okay, let's see. We're going to take some questions here. Sorry, I can't quite read your question. Do you agree? Did you agree right away? For some reason, I'm having a hard time reading that comment. Emily says hello from the UK. You're welcome to ask these questions again if I've not answered them and you would like them answered. Let's see. Deanne, hi. I think Wednesdays have become my new favorite. Who initiated the divorce at first? The divorce was my decision. What has been, sorry, I missed it. Are you able to, do you report to the other parent how the week has been? Are you friends? We do communicate specifically about the children, and that is really it. So we do talk about how the children are doing. If any of the kids have been sick, we relay that to the other parent. Somebody just asked a question about baptism. Will you re-ask that question again? Sometimes when everyone asks the questions at the same time, it's hard to like read through them rather quickly. So you're welcome to answer those again. Let's see. I probably missed it, but did you find the source of the lice? I don't know where the children picked up lice from. We've had Daisy with it, and she is clean as a whistle. I checked her hair again today. And then Lincoln had it about a week ago. You have beautiful eyes. Thank you, Gail. That's really sweet. I think this lighting brings out the color in my eyes a little bit more. I still don't know where they got it from, but I'm hoping with the warmer weather that it kills it rather quickly. When Daisy was with Skylar, that was during his parenting week, he did call in the doctor. Okay, I'll answer that question about baptism at 8 years old for Quince. He did call into the doctor, and the doctor prescribed a medication which really nixed the problem for Daisy. But by then, I think one of the other kids picked it up. So somebody asked, I can't remember your name, you did ask, when the quintuplets are 8 years old, will they be baptized? The answer is yes, they will. And they do have agency beginning at 8 years old to decide that for themselves, but I'm pretty sure my kids are gonna want to have that experience. Are you able to relate to people who do not relate to any form of religion? Yes, great question, Deanne. Yes, I do have friends that one of my most favorite nurses when I was pregnant with the quintuplets, I don't think she's a part of any religious organization. And that woman had so much depth, so much character, was such a good human being. And she really, really helped me get through the original trauma when my water broke with the pregnancy. And I think her background is Catholic, but is she practicing Catholicism? I don't think so. But she was very like an in-tune person, and we're still friends to this day. I still text her like every time it's the Quint's birthday. Like, I'm just grateful for her. Great question, Deanne. What has been the hardest part about the divorce for you? I think the hardest part is helping my children when they're struggling, because divorce is hard on kids. I'm not going to lie. Like it's not an easy decision, but it was not a quick decision, and it's not something that I took lightly. I think there are days where I do miss having a husband. I would love to have a partner by my side in life one day. So we'll just have to see. But I think some of the hardest part for me personally as a woman, as a mother, and as a former wife is I grieve still a part of me that's always going to love their dad because he's the father of my kids. You know, and when you invest, I think, a lot of time and energy and years into a relationship, into a marriage, I think it's valid to grieve the loss of that. Because there were a lot of tears. It was not an easy decision. You ask really deep questions today, and I don't mind covering them. I do want to remind everyone to be respectful and give each other grace on here. I know sometimes we get on to hot topics and people can feel very opinionated and passionate about certain topics, but I hope with these sensitive topics in regards to my children that you'll be kind in your comments, both to me as I read them and to my family and to each other. Great questions. Was there one thing that made your decision on divorce? I think there were a bunch of things where I realized it was in the best interest of our family. Let's see, those comments came in a bunch of times. I know there's really great questions. Do you think you guys will remain remarried down the road? Great question. No. The answer to that is no. Are you seeing anyone? You're a wonderful mother. Brenda, yes, I don't know if you've been watching the live videos. That's mainly where I talk about this. I am dating someone right now. I'm not dating anybody else. I may choose to date other people at some point, but all I can really handle is just one relationship right now. And things are going really well. We've been chatting. We usually chat like when I first wake up or he first wakes up. He lives in Idaho, so he doesn't live here. And we usually chat before I go to bed, before he goes to bed. And I think last night we chatted till he fell asleep, which was like 10 p.m. But he's back in Virginia working. And so for him, it was like midnight with what he does for a living. So great question. I am dating and just taking it really, really slow. I've got time. Will we see little grandma with the Quints again soon? I hope so. And I hope little grandma's watching this. She is darling. She is such a treasure. And we are blessed to have her in our family. With what you see on film, I would say that really embodies her character. She's just very angelic. She's very shy and a reserved type of personality, but she's been an absolute gift since the very beginning of bringing the quintuplets home. You are brave. I will never allow anyone in my life that hurt me. I'm so sorry. And I think every woman is different that's been through divorce. Some women say, I will never date again. I don't desire to be remarried. I think for me, originally 2 years ago, I felt that way. Like I was not interested in dating for like a long time, like maybe 5 years down the road. And this person, well, I guess you all know his name now, Austin, kind of came into my life when I wasn't looking or expecting it. And we met through a mutual friend that had known this person's character for a very, very long time. And so I wasn't expecting it. It actually was like 2 days past my birthday. And I honestly had the worst birthday I'd ever had in like a really, really long time. I think I cried on that particular day, just with things I was dealing in my personal life. And so when he came into the picture, I was just like not in a space to want to date at all. But he had become just really highly recommended by these neighbors. And so I was like, well, one text isn't going to hurt. But over a span of 4 months, we've been getting to know each other, and it's nice to say I have a best friend right now. Do you have a dream vacation with the kids? Lindsay asks. Yes, I would love at some point to be able to travel by myself with the quintuplets and not be like utterly exhausted. I think that would be the dream vacation in and of itself. I would love to travel up north. We call it up north when we live in the South, in southern Utah. I would love to go visit Thanksgiving Point and see the tulips and the flowers. So we'll have to see. Funds are a lot tighter this month, even though it's spring break and I'll have the kids for spring break. So we will likely have a staycation and just make the best of that, and have ourselves a good time. So Hazel says, my husband came into my life. Hazel, I'd love to hear the rest of that story. Linda says, good evening from England, from Birmingham, England. So just going back to dating, I know some women say that they don't desire to remarry, and that's okay too. Some get married later on in life, and then some are never given that opportunity. It's just different for everybody. But so far, that's been my experience. Yeah, everyone asks such good questions. Come to Holland for the Tulip Festival. I would love to come to the Tulip Festival. You know how much I love flowers. Love is great when least expected. It is interesting, and Austin and I were talking about this just a few nights ago. Like, it couldn't have been worse timing, but maybe it was a gift because I didn't realize that I would have this beautiful friendship. Do the Quints look like the older boys when they were young? Lincoln, no, I think they each have their own look. I think Lincoln, out of all the kids, looks the most like I did when I was a child. Logan is a dead ringer for my former father-in-law, I feel like. He has that round face and those big eyes and long eyelashes, which doesn't come from my side of the family. It comes from their dad's. Your poise and confidence are inspiring. Thank you. I feel like I've come a long way. I feel like 2 years ago, I was an absolute mess, going through the divorce. And I feel like 2 years time, I've just come a long way and finding just my core and inner strength. So I'm really grateful for people who are really positive about that and kind. Lincoln and Daisy have the same grin. That's interesting that you say that. I think Daisy looks a lot like my side of the family, and Lincoln looks a lot like my side of the family. So as these kids get older, I'm seeing things genetically that remind me of each other. Like Daisy and Violet are starting to look a lot more like just that fuller face. So Daisy looks like my side of the family, but she also looks like a cousin named Andalyn on the other side of the family to me. So it's just interesting as kids age and as the quintuplets age. Like today, the kids are with their dad, and I went in to volunteer into the classroom, and the boys were dressed identical. And for a hot minute, I was like, wow, those boys are twins. And I was like, wait a second, those are my twins. Like, it's just crazy every once in a while when I have a moment where I'm like, I still can't believe I have quintuplets. It's just crazy. You were always and have been an amazing person and a wonderful mom and a real inspiration. Amanda Day, thank you. That's really, really kind. Amanda Day, did we know each other growing up in Vegas? I can't remember if that is your new last name or if you're a different Amanda that we've never met. Sarah says, you inspire me. Thank you. That's really kind. God brings us love when we least expect it. I do agree with that. And I think Austin and I are still just trying to figure out, if this is a good fit. But for now, it's really nice to have a best friend. Good evening. I love your vlogs. I live in the UK and I'm 81 years old. Anna, I'm so glad you are here. What will you do for the Quint's 6th birthday? Great question. Is it Julia? Money is tight this year. So I don't know what I'm going to get them for their birthdays. I think the gift of time is always a beautiful thing, and good food. So we will probably do that. I wanted to get the quintuplets like bikes that aren't tricycles, but that's not really in my budget this year. So I might get them a bunny. I think Holland Lop Hill, a gal out of Shelley, Idaho, might gift us a cute little bunny. So I'm hoping to do that, but I'm punching numbers just to afford like the little hutch and the cost of feed for the kids, but I know that they would love that. So that might be their gift this year from me. Really good cupcakes that are egg-free and the gift of time and a sweet party with friends. So that might be it. You're glowing again. Shine your love and light, happiness. Sarah, you're so kind. Thank you. So sweet. I love you. You're an amazing mom thank you. That's really kind. If you have chickens, I think that's how they got lice. Do lice come from chickens? Is a great question. Do I receive child support? Great question. No, neither one of us parents have needed child support or alimony because the business of Five to Love was so successful. But times have changed and I don't have as many sponsors as I used to. So money's just tighter in my household. Lincoln looked excited playing soccer. He did. And I really would love to sign my kids up for soccer. But right now, the cost of cleats and shin guards and all of those things is just not in my budget. So I would love at some point to sign my kids up for more activities. Since dance was already paid for, the girls are in dance. But I think I've officially decided, along with Violet, that dance is not her thing. I chatted with the teacher. I've chatted with Violet just about every week. I've chatted with Skylar, their dad. I think we can officially say Violet is done with dance. So she may want the dance costume and be in the recital, but that's probably it for her, unless she says, hey, I'd like to do this instead. So, or like do dance again. But I think Lily and Daisy, it's going to be their thing. So I would love to get my kids involved in like some sort of extracurricular that's affordable for our family. I think it would be really good for Lincoln in particular to be able to use that energy and get his wiggles out in healthy ways like that. Poultry lice cannot survive on humans, I believe, is what Kimberly says. I haven't even looked into it. I did look at my chickens to see if there was any lice. I couldn't see anything, but I know they like clean hair. And yes, let's say, oh, somebody asked, I think you asked a parenting question about like if Skylar and I decide to put the kids in activity, we do share the costs. So when we first signed the girls up for ballet, Skylar and I both split co-parenting costs like evenly down the middle, but we do check with each other first. So I don't just like, and this is a good co-parenting thing, I don't just sign my kids up and then say, hey, you need to pay me for half. I say, hey, I would like to sign the girls up for ballet. Are you on board? Does that work for you? And both times for each of the semesters, he said yes. So we split the cost of that. We did split the cost originally of like ballet shoes. Oh, that is Lowe's delivery team wanting to deliver washers and dryers. I'll answer that text in a minute. So we do split the cost with some things, like doctor's appointments we split. When the kids need to go to play therapy to learn how to emotionally regulate, we split the cost of that every time. And those are just great co-parenting things. Not every co-parent relationship and situation is going to be the same as that, but that's how we do it. So if I did want to sign the kids up for soccer, I think Skylar would be totally on board with that because he's a former soccer coach. But we're still just navigating kindergarten, getting the hang of things. And it's a lot of work to get the kids here and there and all of that. And so I think we would split the cost if we decided to sign the kids up, let's say for like soccer or baseball or basketball, probably with the cost of like shin guards and shoes and that sort of thing. So hopefully in the future, like we'll be able to do more activities as a family like that for the kids. Suzanne says, love you from North Carolina. Thank you for joining us. I've always wanted to visit North Carolina, South Carolina, and some of these places in the South and back East. I've not really had opportunity to do that, but I hope one day to be able to do that. I smile and think it's so cute. Is your mom okay? I never see her and seldom see your dad. Brenda just asks. Yes, my mom is doing okay. I don't know if you're referencing when she was bit by a scorpion. Like this was weeks ago. She is doing okay. It did take her a few days to recover. She said it was incredibly painful, but yeah, she's doing really good. And my dad too. I don't film a ton with my parents as frequently. We do see them every Sunday, and I did choose a home that's in the same neighborhood as them. So we do attend church at the same time, and they help a ton actually, which is amazing. So like wrestling kids at church, if you can imagine being a single mom wrestling that many 5-year-olds during church services, which is fabulous because then I can hear some of the sermon from the speakers in church, and it's really, really helpful and nice. So a lot of feet to deal with. Thank you. I love your honesty where finances are involved. We're doing okay. Like we have money for everything we need, but as far as like extra stuff, it's just, we're simplifying right now. I thought chickens have mites, not lice. I don't know. How's your self-care going is what Sarah Johnson says. It's going really well. I did have mild depression for a good, like probably 6 weeks. Back around the time of my birthday last year, and navigating that just required a lot of gentleness and patience with myself and a check-in with my therapist that I hadn't seen in a long time. So as far as self-care, things I'm doing these days, I'm listening to a lot of good music, and I realized I had stopped listening to music for like a good 3 years, and I've missed that in my life. And so That has been wonderful. I think like retail therapy, even if it's just window shopping, which is what I did today. I just went to TJ Maxx, got out of the house, and it just got me excited about springtime and creating and St. Patrick's Day and Easter. I don't know, as a woman, like that is just my happy place. And there was the sweetest gal that was driving away in her truck, I think in the parking lot from TJ Maxx, that stopped in the middle of the road and said, "Hey, I just want you to know I watch your channel and you're a really good mom. Keep going." And I just thought, you know, I'm really grateful because there are moments where I want to shut the world out. I woke up this morning, if I can be really frank and honest, this is going to go on YouTube. So this is not so much for our Facebook viewers this week. This is more for our YouTube people. That's for my life. And I think everybody needs kindness. So you should take up dancing again to feed your own happiness. Shirley, thank you. My body's so much older. I would love to get back into dancing. I did dance in my kitchen with someone like last week, and that was quite lovely. But other than that, I don't know if my body can really do what it once did. Thanks for talking with us. It is great, Sarah or Susan. Thank you. I love when we have these moments where we can connect together as an audience and as a support system. I think it's beautiful. Do you still attend the temple, Virginia? Yes. You know, I had kind of taken a pause. I never stopped going to church these last 2 weeks. I kept attending regularly, but I did take a pause for a moment just to regroup as a person before attending the temple again. So in my faith, the highest form of worship is attending the temple, where I go to commune with God, and to me it's sacred space. And I know everybody, whether you're religious or non-religion, I think everybody has sacred space in their life where you go to just feel peace or stillness or to regroup as a person or have that clarity. For me, it's many different places. It's my home. It's going out, like getting out in nature. It's being around animals. For me, it's digging my hands in the earth and gardening, which I love spring for that reason. It's so therapeutic for me. And then also worshiping in the temple to commune with God and have that like sacred space and stillness where I can just like shut the world out and just think and allow myself to feel. And I think part of me taking a break from going to the temple was like twofold. Part of it was I was grieving the loss of a marriage. And second, I didn't want anyone to see me cry publicly. And so I just needed time to heal. And I think that's okay. So great question. I wish I could live in the temple, Carol says. So we're probably members of the same faith, I'm guessing, unless you have a temple that's different in your religion. To me, it's sacred space. So Deanne says, good point. Is Austin religious as well? Sarah, you ask good questions. And somebody else asks, are you doing yoga? Yes, I do yoga every single morning in my closet. I would love to attend an actual yoga studio, but I don't have the funds to do that right now. So I just do it every day at home before I get the kids off to school. Somebody asked just barely, is Austin religious? Yes, he attends the temple a lot more than I do. He goes every single week, and he has tried to attend like every temple that's been built. So I'm like, good for you. That's cool. I've not done that. So he is very religious and devout in his faith. And he's one that's not a talker. He's more of a doer. So he's the guy at the party that's going to be in the back of the room serving the little old lady punch. And he doesn't need to be the center of attention, which I really like. He's kind of just a very like meek, mild, and kind personality. Bernadette asked who's Austin. I'm dating someone, and that's his name. Let's see. Sarah says you were able to. Do you have an Amazon wish list for the kids to receive gifts? I don't, but I do have a P.O. box. Susan says Austin sounds like a nice guy. He is, and we'll just have to see. Right now, it's just a beautiful friendship. Whoever ends up marrying that man is going to be a lucky girl. I will say that. He's very attentive, very kind, and just very good. You were able to visit temples that aren't in your neighborhood? Oh, great question. Yes, so you can visit any temple. It's the highest form of worship, so you can attend a temple anywhere around the world. They're all over the world. And if they have open houses, like there's an open house here in Southern Utah and it ends, I think, this weekend, and that's free. It's open to the public. You don't have to be the same religion. So if you're curious about what's inside, what they look like, each of them are different. They kind of look like a church, just a nicer version of a church. And they're made to last and stand the test of time. Somebody asked another question, like, is Austin married? No, he's not. He's never been engaged, not married, and doesn't have any kids. You just enjoy yourself and do what makes you happy. Thank you, Bernadette. That's really kind. Yeah, it's nice to have just a wonderful friendship right now and a best friend. Let's see. A new temple will be built here in Sweden. Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that. Somebody said they went into a temple. There's a lot of people that have said they go in just to look at the architecture and they're of a different faith. That's cool. I'm glad he shares the same something. Please make a wish list for things they want and need. Also, that's really kind. The little boys need underwear. They've had a growth spurt. They've all had growth spurts, and trying to buy 5 of everything all adds up. But I'm really grateful for Walmart because it's really affordable. We forget to do that, and it's very important to have self-care. I do agree with that. I think as women and as mothers, we're so busy thinking about everyone else, serving, whether it's our spouse or our children or our family or our neighbors or an elderly parent, that sometimes we forget that we're people too. And so, self-care is important too. What is your P.O. box? If you scroll to the top of 5 to Love, you should find our P.O. box there. If you're not following me on Instagram, jamie.scott, or YouTube, Jamie Scott Dash, it'll say the P.O. box on there too. How is it going trying to rid Violet? Ask that question again. I missed the last part of that. Would you please share your P.O. box? It'll be at the top of the feed here. They are beautiful, the temples. They are. One temple I would love to go see is the San Diego temple. It kind of looks like a castle. How is your mom? Kathy asks, my mom is doing better since her scorpion bite. Is there a difference between, I just missed it, the LDS church and, ask it again, what size are the kids? Right now they wear size 6, but I would size up if it's the girls, like if it's something from Carter's, I would say size 7. Daisy's had a major growth spurt right now, and I just barely bought the kids clothes and new shoes, and they are just growing like crazy. If it's the boys, it would be size 6. If it's the girls, they do wear size 6, but Carter's, I would size up to size 7 because then the clothes will last longer. You are going to get a bunch of little boy underwear. I hope so. The little boys do wear size 6, and I almost bought it at the store today and then took it out of my cart because just everything adds up. But anyway, how is it going trying to rid Violet of her bunny? Great question. I think Violet does have some anxiety right now, just dealing with some personal things that I don't share publicly. It's comforting to her, and it's something that I want to be sensitive about because I think sometimes change and transitions is all I'm going to say. It can be hard on kids. And so I really hope that when she's ready, she's able to let that go. Daisy used to have a bunny that she would suck on, and during transitions, actually the kids were actually off of all of their things that they would suck on or whatever. And then when the separation happened, the divorce happened, those kids needed those comfort snuggly items. And so they had those back, and it was really helpful. And so there are moments where I'm just like, Violet, you can hold your bunny, but don't suck on it. Or if you're going to do that, it needs to be just at nighttime. But that little girl will sneak it between houses, and she'll sneak it into her backpack. And even her teacher is like, she just needs those moments where it helps her regulate. But she's not going to be 40 years old still sucking on a bunny, thank goodness. And I'm not a fan of binkies. My kids were never on binkies. I'm not a fan of thumb sucking, but some kids need that. So I do think though that was valid to talk about Violet's bunny, because you do see it in the vlog sometimes, and I'm like, it's so gross. I just want her to outgrow that. I love you and have stuffed animals on my own, and I'm almost 60. Bernadette, I love it. You make me smile. I had a favorite doll until I was like 10 years old. Like my mother can attest to that. She was just gross by the time I was 10, but I loved her. My son had his teddy till he was ready to let it go. A teddy till they're ready. They love it when they get taller than their parents. Let's see, a new teapot, garden gloves. Oh, you're so sweet. We really have everything we need. I think the kids, as they are going through those growth spurts, that gets a little bit tricky because they are getting older, but we do have everything that we need as of today. But Everyone's always been so kind to our family. Let's see, maybe a puppy or a kitten. Lynette, I would love to have a dog, but Violet and Landon are allergic to dogs, so it would have to be hypoallergenic. But even then, they're not 100% allergy free. Did Austin meet the kids in person? You had mentioned that that would be sooner rather than later. That is something that we are discussing. There is such a sensitivity to that. The kids have FaceTimed with him briefly. And Violet's kind of boy crazy right now. That's kind of new. So she says funny, quirky little things like me likey. I'm like, okay, and this is Violet. But they haven't met in person. That's probably something in the next few weeks that he and I will discuss. And I want to make sure that it's at the kids' pace, because he and I are not engaged. We're not even saying we're boyfriend and girlfriend. It's nothing like that. It's just this beautiful friendship where we're just taking it slow. And so I just don't want to introduce people early on into a relationship, especially if they're not going to stay. So we're just going to kind of see how it goes. But I do think it would be okay at this point. It's been 4 months out for my kids to meet him casually, and as this is mom's friend. So how does Landon feel about your big, beautiful family? Sarah asked, how does Austin feel? He has made the statement, it's a lot, because it is. So I actually appreciate his honesty. He asked really good questions, and I think that's good. Let's see, some of these longer messages, if you send them like 2 sentences, I can read them a little quicker. I love all your kids, but Violet is, I'm guessing you're going to say favorite. I know a lot of people adore Violet. I think the children will get tall. I think so. On Skylar's side of the family, he's got a brother that's a sister, that's 6'4". And on my side of the family, like my dad is 6'2", and I have tall uncles. So I do think some of my kids will be rather tall. Let's see. I wanted to share with you all something that when I was on Instagram, I was looking at the feed of my good friend, Janine Martin, and she is a licensed clinical social worker. And she posted something, I don't know if you have heard this before, about glimmers. And I don't know if you have ever heard this term before, but I thought it was so wonderful. I really wanted to share that with everybody today. So glimmers are small moments that spark joy. And my platform that I have here from the very beginning, I have talked about sharing joy from the beginning. And I loved her post. She talked about glimmers are the opposite of triggers. And I know after I had the babies, I had a lot of triggers and PTSD from the traumatic pregnancy. I know that there were miracles. I know that a lot of you participated in that, but it was also a very traumatic experience for me being pregnant and not knowing the outcome of all of that. And so after I had the babies, I had a lot of triggers, but I also had a lot of glimmers, but I didn't have a word for it at the time. So Janine Martin talked about glimmers are tiny moments of awe. They spark joy and they evoke inner calm, and they are a positive effect on our mental health. So everybody's dealing with different things in their life. If you find yourself in trauma or PTSD or having these triggers, I would challenge you to look for glimmers. And that's something that I think is just going to be like my word of the week, is looking for the glimmers, looking for the silver lining, looking for the sparks of joy if you're going through something hard. So anyway, I just thought I would share that. I thought it was beautiful. You were a glimmer to us all. You spark my joy. Thank you, Claire. Very true. Very true. Yes. And I don't know if you guys have been following for a really long time, you may have heard this story. When I was struggling with infertility, I was really struggling with wanting to add just one more child to my family. And I remember I was praying, but I wasn't on my knees. I was cleaning my house. And when I pray and commune with God, oftentimes it's not on my knees, it's on the go. And I was just sweeping my house. I remember the exact spot. And I remember saying this prayer that I was praying to God, if I could have just one child, I would share joy. And what I envisioned at the time was at the grocery store, at the checkout with my cute chubby little baby, sharing joy with the little old lady behind me that was lonely, while my child smiled, or little grandma because she was lonely, or the little old lady up the street who had just lost her husband. So I didn't envision that I was going to have quintuplets. That was not on my radar. But I do remember in that same moments, because I was saving up for infertility and I thought, well, maybe I could get twins in a 2-for-1 deal somehow. But I remember saying to God, if there's more than one, send them both, because I knew that would be it for me, one more pregnancy. And I also have hyperemesis gravidarum when I'm pregnant, which is like really scary. So I just knew like I was willing to do this one more time and that was gonna be it for me. So I hope you do see these moments where it's relatable and you see my children expressing emotion, that they're not happy all the time. I think social media, sometimes some people will only share the happy moments of their kids. And I think allowing you all in just a little bit more into our world can be helpful, especially for the mom that just has one, I can't say just, has one child and sees the vlog and is like, well, I must be a failure because my kids aren't all happy. Like, I think it's valid and it's healthy and it's good. And I think women need women. And I think light is attracted to light. So anyway, I hope you feel that joy that I share with you. Lynette, agree, always good to be in prayer daily. Thank goodness for prayer. If I didn't have prayer, I would feel like so lonely most days. Where did you get their names? Sherilyn, I think, asked. Great question. You guys, I feel like we're doing a deep dive today with things you may not know. Some of you may already know this. So early on, when I did infertility, for those of you that don't know, I did IUI, which is intrauterine insemination. I was hoping to add one child to my family. Didn't know it was gonna be quintuplets. My body created, you guys might not know this, my body created 6 follicles. It created 4 on the first round. None of them took. And on the second round, there were 6 follicles, but my numbers weren't very high. So I thought I'd probably get pregnant with like 1 were my odds. So I found out like a week or 2 later through like HCG testing that I was pregnant. So that was wonderful. And then my HCG levels, to make sure they were doubling by like the second week I went in. And my former sister-in-law had done IVF. Hers was like 1,000. Mine was like 5,000. And I was like, sweet, I'm probably pregnant with twins. I'll get my money's worth. We'll see how this goes. I didn't know it was going to be 5, but for 2 weeks solid after that, every night I dreamt that I was pregnant with quintuplets. I don't know if some of you even know this. And every night I would wake up the next morning and it stressed me out so bad. I was like, oh, I don't want that. That's crazy. And every morning I would say to my spouse after waking up, like, I dreamt that I had quintuplets. And he would say, that's not going to happen. That's crazy. And I remember like looking on YouTube at the BuzzFeeds that had quintuplets on TLC and watching like 5 minutes of that show and being like, oh, I can't even, like, that stresses me out too much. Like, that's not going to be me. So anyway, moving forward, finding out it was quintuplets, realizing I don't know how this is going to go. This is high-risk pregnancy. This is really scary. But I would have these like glimmers of hope. And early on, before I knew the genders, I dreamt that I had 5 healthy babies and that they had these big blue eyes and long eyelashes. And those of you from the beginning have probably heard this story before. And I also had another dream where I dreamt, before I knew genders, that the 3 girls were named Daisy, Lily, and Violet. And I have a grandmother named Lily, and all this time I thought I was just going to have Lily, that she was the one I'd been waiting for to add to my family. Not that she's favored, but I just had thought for years I would have this daughter to add to my family. So I woke up the next morning, told my boys, told my spouse at the time, and was like, but they're kind of hippie, trippy names, like Daisy, Lily, and Violet. But everyone agreed, no, those are really cool. We love that. And especially the boys, they were like, we love those names. And I said, in the dream, this is weird, but in the dream, Violet we called Vivi. And my boys just thought that was so cute. So those names just stuck from the beginning and they grew on me. I wasn't quite sure about the name Daisy, but when it was paired after my sister Kate, I was like, I love Daisy Kate. It just makes sense. The little boys originally, you might not know this, were named, Shayden and Landon really liked the name Bo. So Bo and Noah. So Lincoln originally was probably going to be named Noah. I loved that name. And so when my water broke, I think that was going to be Lincoln's, originally his name. So Lincoln and Logan Logan's name, their dad really loved the name Logan, and it was one I didn't like originally. And the day before my water broke, my good friend Ivy came down to Arizona, took me out to lunch with her good friend Jenny as well. And she was like, let's talk about baby boy names. And I was like, okay, what do you got? Throw them at me. And she said to me, she did different names. I was like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. And then she was like, she said something like, you know what name I've always loved? And I said, what? And she said, Logan. And I was like, did Skylar put you up to that? Because Skylar had said, like, his name's going to be Logan. I just know it. And I was like, I don't like that name. But anyway, when his water broke, his name was Logan. And Lincoln originally was named Noah Richard after my dad. And Logan was named Logan Allen, I think, originally. But now it's Logan Matthew and it's Lincoln Allen. Allen after Grandpa Scott. So anyway, hope that all makes sense and you guys get a little bit more information. I know I can be a little bit long-winded. Let's see, any more? Is that one? I think that one is in Spanish. We can always learn and grow from our life experiences. It's what makes us each unique. So going back to like glimmers and the pregnancy, this is always a time of reflection for me, gearing up for the quintuplets birthdays. I do still have triggers that come up and their actual birthday is still quite traumatic for me in some ways because it's layers that I work through with PTSD from the pregnancy. It changed my world, it changed my life, and things will never look the same again. But as far as like glimmers, during that pregnancy, when everything was like stacked against us, I would have these glimmers of hope, whether it was like a kind word from somebody here online, or whether it was like a dream that I felt was just a gift from God and calmed my inner world and being, or a great therapist that was on board from the beginning. She's passed away in the last couple years, but her words of wisdom and through guided imagery, through the power of prayer, we were able to make it to 29 weeks, which I'll just forever be grateful about that. Nita, hi from Michigan. It's so fun spending time with everybody and so many good women on here. Let's see, I think I've kind of covered everything that I wanted to hit. Home reno, yes, and you're reinventing yourself now since the divorce. Sarah, thank you. I think post-divorce, every person probably goes through that of figuring out your identity. If you're not a wife anymore, who are you? And I think I was so wrapped up in I'm a wife, I'm a mom, that I forgot about me. And so now exploring those and having breaks and time to do that has been this beautiful thing. Victoria says, amazing. You're all just such good people. Hi from Georgia, I think. It's a pocket of time is what Claire says. Yes. Yes, so many good things to come. I've been divorced now. Let's see, correct place to, 782 South River Road, P.O. Box number 82, St. George, Utah, 84790. But I forget there's another part of the P.O. Box at the end, so you want to check that out. God equips the called, blessed for sure. Thank you. You know, some days I think I say to God, you got the wrong girl for the job, because some days I feel so inferior. And some days I do feel like a failure with my parenting, but part of resiliency, I think part of being a good mother is realizing when you didn't handle something great and talking to your kids and being like, you know, Mom didn't handle that great. We're going to try again here. And next time I'm going to do that differently. I think that's why we have families, is so we can learn, so that we can grow and be better people. But it requires forgiveness. It requires patience. And, you know, adults make mistakes too. So learning self-love is a good thing, is what everyone needs permission to do that today. Lynette, you have good words of wisdom. Well, I thought I would pick up this camera and you guys could get an early sneak peek of the laundry room. Hopefully my camera doesn't totally like biff it as I do this. And you're going to see my messy kitchen. So just bear with me, because I had Mr. Shayden here the other day working on the laundry room for me and teaching me some of these skills. And there was just tons of dust all over everything. So I had to rewash all the kids' clothes and like the little locker systems that were in there. So it is cluttery. So you're going to see like the real version of my kitchen right now. So anyway, you know, just keeping it real for all of you. So this is like all the locker system stuff. I am spring cleaning. So I've got like all the things the kids are outgrowing, tool stuff. So this is the laundry room. I have been retexturizing all of these walls here. And it took me about half the laundry room to really get the hang of this imperfect, smooth wall texture. I have a washer and dryer that is just floating in the center of the ceiling so that I can get back behind here. This has all been plumbed and new electric work done for double washer dryer unit stuff. And then I learned how to retexture ceilings today, or like yesterday. And I didn't know what I was doing. So Mr. Chad came by and helped me out a little bit and was like, okay, you got to do it like this and let it sit for like a good 20 minutes before you scrape it. So I'm learning a lot of good home reno skills. And it's been fun learning that, but boy, it is a workout. I'm tired and I'm totally out of shape. So stay tuned for tomorrow's vlog. I'm gonna have Kyle edit the rest of that. So it will come out, or I guess it's gonna be on Friday. That gives me a day for people to watch the live video. And some people have been asking why I've not been filming the kids as much as you guys might be used to. And part of it is if the kids are really struggling, I'm not gonna pull out the camera and film. So every once in a while, there will be a week where I'm just gonna give the kids a day, and that's okay. And so anyway, I just really appreciate people being very respectful of my kids because they are kids and life is messy sometimes. And so anyway, but fun things coming ahead. The Quintuplets birthday is March 21st, so we're really excited about that. We've got St. Patrick's Day, so I'll have the kids, we rotate 50-50 custody parent time. I'll have the kids 1 week, Skylar, has them the next week, but I've got a span of like 2 or 3 weeks actually where I'll have the kids. So I get them for spring break, St. Patrick's Day, and they'll be with their dad for Easter. So we're gonna celebrate a little bit early with some things. But I'm just so grateful for all of you amazing, amazing women that have loved us, championed us, and supported us along the way. And I really hope that, you know, if there are single moms in your community, that you can offer a helping hand, and instead of judgment and critiques, you can champion these women, especially these women who haven't been blessed with as much opportunity as I've had in this community. I mean, people have just rallied around my family the last couple years. Different neighbors, you know, have brought us dinner, or like Pat went to the park with us, like in the last vlog, and she just randomly felt inspired to come drop in and help. She didn't know, but I was crying while doing my dishes because I had burnt the French toast that I had made because I was dealing with a child having a temper tantrum and I couldn't be in 2 places at the same time, but my child needed me, but the French toast was burning, and Lincoln was having a meltdown too. So I had 2 kids having meltdowns at the same time. So anyway, I'm just grateful for good people, and I hope we can build each other. I hope that light can continue to be attracted to light, and that good people just need good people in their life. So anyway, love you. Thank you for hanging out with me today. These are my favorite day of the week now, and I can't wait to share more content with you. So stay tuned. Laundry room should be wrapping up. I've got somebody sponsoring quartz, and I've got another company that is sponsoring cabinetry. Super grateful for them. Stay tuned for more. Love you all. I will talk to you all real soon.